attention, please. We are recording, and I get very positive feedback from people that watch our recordings, and they say, oh, they love it, and so I'm going to continue to do it. And like I said, if anybody says anything that is mean or a curse word or something, I'll edit it out. Okay, so it's not like if you use a curse.
Be aware.
Be aware. Now,
Mary Lou, be aware.
now, today, we have a topic, and if you've read your invitation, you know what it is, but I'll refresh your memory if you haven't. It's about memories, your experience when you were in grammar school, defined as 1st through 6th. Talk about a teacher. As a matter of fact, I found my report cards from 1st grade to 6th grade and made a documentary. It's on YouTube. You can see my report cards, and you can see I got a C in conduct. I was a good student, but I talked a lot, as you can see, and some of the teachers didn't appreciate that as much as they appreciate people pay me to talk. You know, that's pretty good. So I tell you, we'll just go ahead and we have a new Donna. Thank you for coming. You're a rookie, and let me tell you some of the ground rules. The food. When the food lands, you can go ahead and serve yourself and start eating, even though someone is talking and has the floor. And we're going to use hypocrite. I need to use a microphone.
And you want to use a microphone because it really helps pick up the camera sound, the audio for the camera. And also, I've got impaired hearing, and some people are low talkers, soft talkers. So put it close to your mouth. And the food, and it's all you can eat. And
then
John,
when he comes in, he announces.
John, what do you got for us? What do you say?
This is our house salad. So ensalada de campa with white balsamic, red onions, tomatoes, cucumbers.
Excellent.
And
And
it's
all you can eat, so don't worry about running out of food. No one leaves hungry. That's what they pledge. So anyway, so I tell you what. See what else. Oh, now you can ask germane questions. You cannot hijack. What is hijacking? This is an example of that. That reminds me of the time I was in Paris, France, and I saw a bear on a bicycle riding it backwards, and his name was Lester Maddox. and then 10 minutes later, you relinquish the phone. And that's why and when someone has a question, I'd like to pass the microphone to the person so we can pick it up. So if you have a question. And then when you're finished, tell us you're finished so we can clap, and we'll pass the microphone to the next person. So I tell you what, I'll go ahead and Joanne, you show us. This is Joanne Flournoy, my spouse, and tell us about some experiences when you were in grammar school. Joanne.
Okay. Well,
The one that comes to mind, I don't remember, up in New York State, you had kindergarten through 6th in elementary school, and I distinctly remember, and I think I've told this story before, in kindergarten, I disrupted the class. And the teacher said to me, you know, you're kids and you take everything literally at that point. So she said to me, Joanne, I want you to apologize to everybody in the class. So I stood up and I went to each student, I'm sorry. And I went to the next guy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she said, what are you doing? That's not what I wanted you to do. And I said, but you will. And she goes, sit down. So that, I thought it was funny. But, and I, as an adult, I'm wondering, did she go home and tell her husband and they were like laughing about it? But she seemed quite upset at me at the time. So, but that's, I can think of other things, but that is primarily something that I remember and makes me laugh to this day. So that's it.
She's finished. Sharon Haynes next. Tell us the experience that you remember from grammar school.
I remember being in the 1st grade and this girl bullied me all the time because she was big and
A little bit closer.
she would bully me all the time.
She would do what?
Bully me.
Bully.
Oh,
Yeah,
teacher was?
no, this girl.
Oh, girl.
And we drew names for Christmas, and I got her name. And my mom went out and got her a present and wrapped it. Well, my brother and I went in there and wrapped a roll of toilet tissue. And I hid the present Mama gave me, and I gave her the roll of toilet tissue. I got in a lot of trouble over that. But that's one of my memories from school. And that's all.
Memories from grammar school. And tell us where you went to grammar school too, that's even good.
I went to Westside Elementary, and I was in the 3rd grade, and my mama always taught me not to put no plastic bag over your head. Well, I think it was Steve Walter had this plastic bag, playing with it and everything, and my teacher was Miss Cheater. Do y'all remember Miss Cheater?
Yeah, close to your mouth, microphone.
I don't remember her.
Yeah, this was 3rd grade at Westside.
I went to that side.
At Westside.
Oh, I had Miss Calhoun.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, Miss Jeter came and made me wear a tattletale sign on my back
Oh,
all
my
day
goodness.
long. She sure did, and
That's terrible.
That
It
is
was.
terrible.
that was terrible. Yeah.
She'd get in all kinds of trouble now.
Oh, yeah. And in the 3rd grade, I went steady with Randy Webb, and boy, I wish it would have went on.
3rd grade?
He's a doctor.
Donna, tell where you went to grammar school and tell us the story about grammar school.
I'm Donna Driscoll, and I went to Lewis and Clark Elementary School in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was nice. And in the 6th grade, we had 2 teachers. So one was like English and everything, and then the man teacher, which
Go
is
close to your mouth.
the man teacher was, which there were few men teachers back in that day, but he was social studies and like math. And so on the last day of school, we got to all go outside and play baseball. And so it was the girls against the boys. And we thought, oh, that's not fair. That's not gonna work. He cheated so bad for the girls that we won. So it was fun. Thank you.
Okay, Mary Lou, tell us where you went to grammar school and a story that you remember.
Back historic time,
Close to your mouth,
okay.
thank you.
I'm 91 years old, so I probably, and I say that only so when I start telling my little story. I was born in Talking Rock, Georgia, which is above Jasper, Georgia. And when I was born in November, and my mother put me on the school bus when I was not quite 6 years old. And I didn't want any part of that, I cried. So she didn't make me go. But my daddy, I have a little lunchbox I brought to show y'all.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I have no idea what I would put in that little lunchbox, but my name is on it, and he put the date, 1939.
Wow.
And so, before I started actually in the 1st grade, Daddy moved to Cleveland, Tennessee to work on the dams up there. And so I went to school 1st, 2nd, and half of the 3rd grade in Cleveland, Tennessee. I don't remember anything about it. I've got my report card. I know I went, but I don't have anything to recall. So when the war started, we moved back to our home in Talking Rock, and Daddy was trying to get a job at Bell Bomber Plant, when they first started, 1942. So we moved to Marietta in February of 43, and I started to Waterman Street School. At the time, it was 1 through 6th grade, 7th grade, and they had 2 shifts. They had a morning shift and an afternoon because of all the children. So I went to school from 12:30 to 4:30.
And so there's a picture.
But there's a picture of Waterman Street School, and there's the story, which I have given all y'all a copy.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
In case you don't know the history
That's
of
wonderful.
Waterman Street School.
Thank you so much for this.
I wish it was still there. It was such a nice building, don't you?
Tell us a story and experience that you had at Waterman. You remember?
The stories at Waterman Street School.
About your experience at Waterman.
Well, okay, Waterman Street School, okay. Of course, the girls all wore dresses. I mean, you didn't wear shorts but that's where I learned how to play basketball with the boys. And I don't consider myself a tomboy, but That's where I learned how to play basketball on the playground and shoot marbles. Got down on my knees at that red clay out on they put the barracks out on the playground. And I love school, and I didn't go into the main building until I was in the 6th grade. And I asked my brother-in-law, I said, well, was there a lunchroom? Well, there's a lunchroom and a bathroom, but I don't remember either one of those. But nevertheless, that's my experience. Now, if you went to the 7th grade, I have some good stories about the 7th grade.
Financial compliance, tell us a good story from the 7th grade. You know, I said first through 6th. Go ahead.
Okay. In the 7th grade, when I was 13 years old, I was 5'10". I'm tall.
Wow.
And I had a figure. I had boobs when I was 13.
And the boys noticed.
Well, I'll tell you what, all the boys were little except one boy. Chuck West was 6'2". And he played basketball, and I had a crush on him. And then we went to high school together, and he became a Western writer. And he writes novels, and I'm in 2 of his books. We're still friends. He lives in somewhere in Florida. I can't remember right now. But anyway.
The germane question, does he use your real name or is it a fake name?
Well, see, a friend of mine read the book. He said, Mary Lou, have you read this book that Chuck wrote? And I said, no. And he said, well, you're in it. And I said, what do you mean? So anyway, I got the book and I read it and I called Chuck and I said, I haven't received any royalties from this book. And so he sent me the book and autographed it and said he thought about me when he wrote it. I was a barmaid in this book. And it was a good book, and he wrote a sequence to it. And we're still friends.
Did he use your real name?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So
Yes, Mary Lou Cagle.
What's his
Here's
name?
my real name.
What's his name and the name of the book?
Charles West.
Charles West is the name of the book.
And you can Google him and read all about him.
Okay.
I know the name of the book. Mary Lou Cagle is my girlfriend.
Well, it was, it's a true Western book. I mean, he's a good writer.
What's the name of the book?
I can't remember.
Okay, I'll.
Yeah, he's written several, but I started to bring those, and then I thought that would be off the subject. So anyway, I loved Waterman Street School was special. We had playground. I don't even think our teachers were real teachers. I don't think they even had a degree. They were kind of like babysitters for all the World War II people that came in. But anyway, then I finally went to Marietta High School.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
For sure.
And what's Harvard? Memory from grammar school. Where did you go to grammar school?
May I do more than one? I went to 2 grammar schools.
Close to come out.
May I do more than one? Because okay.
Of course.
I went to Waterman Street 1st grade. I don't remember anything about it except for a little young man named Rodney gave me his mother's diamond ring to be his girlfriend.
Oh, did you still have it?
Oh, no. She called my mother at work. Mama owned a beauty shop. Yes, and so, you know, I thought I might get in trouble because I didn't know if I was able to have a boyfriend or not. So, you know, the little chains used to have, like to hang something, little, I don't know what they're called.
And put it on pause. What food is incoming?
This is our spaghetti pomodoros and chunky tomato sauce. I have some gluten-free, and we're working on some gluten-free pasta for you. Okay, I'll have that right now. And pecorino cheese is coming along with it. That's grated fresh every day. It's good stuff.
Thank you
I'll
so
be
much.
right back. I got a couple more to break.
And back to you. You have the floor. And put the microphone close to your mouth.
Yes, sir. So anyway, Rodney's mother called my mother at work and told her to see if I had a ring. And I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And she said, where is it? I took my little necklace off and gave it to her, so I had to give it back the next day. But anyway, I was still his girlfriend, but that's all I remember about that. But when I was in 4th grade at Westside, 2nd grade through 7th grade, I went to Westside. I was in 4th grade at West Side, and the fire trucks were going up the hill on Maple Avenue. And then they kind of stopped, and everybody said, "Ann, that's kind of close to your house." And I went, "No, I don't think so." So when I got outside, Cindy Moon's mom was there to pick me up. We lived so close, our parents never picked us up from school. I mean, you could throw a rock almost. And so she looked at me and she goes, "Ann," and I just dropped my books and said, "It's my house, isn't it?" And I ran up the street and my house was just in flames. So that was my house. I remember that in 4th grade.
What started the fire?
Electrical, gas and electric, something that went up in the gas heater, went up in the attic or something. But, and then what didn't burn was pretty much stolen out of the house. But 7th grade, Sandra Johnson's mother was one of our teachers. And that's when the Beatles, were pretty popular.
63, 64, yeah.
She was so funny. The boys would come into class and she would get their hair, their bangs, and put a bow in it. So she could see their eyes. She would just pull the middle part. And I thought, and then if you got in trouble, you had to go sit back in the closet with the door closed.
Oh my God.
The coat closet that they had. And I thought, Lord, if somebody did that now. That's all.
Let's give it up for him. Captain Kelly, where did you go?
All right, I went to Hickory Hills. The main thing I remember, 1st through 6th, was Mr. Carter, the principal. Every year, he had a brand new T-bird.
Yep.
So the big thing was, and he would always come late, making sure that everyone was there to look out the windows to see what he was going to drive up in. So that was exciting. And the next exciting part was I had Mrs. Burns for 2nd grade, and I really, really liked her, and I think I was the teacher's pet because I really did like her. And she was always very kind to me. I did. And then she came back in 6th grade with her sister, but at this time she was called Mrs. Lumpkin, or Miss Lumpkin.
Got married, huh?
No, she got divorced.
Oh, wow.
So she took Lumpkin back. I think that was her maiden name. And she had a sister that came and taught also. We were changing classes back then. But after, elementary school, she was also working at Saks. And my parents were divorced. So what my dad would do with me, when he would pick me up for a Saturday, we would go shopping. And I always wondered, well, why are we going down to Phipps Plaza and going to Saks?
Mikey.
Well, the next thing I know, they're dating, and she's going on our family vacations with us. But they never got married, but she turned out to be a dear, dear, dear friend.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, in fact, I just loved her. She was wonderful.
She loved you too.
I think she did.
So, give up the count. Jim Walton, where'd you go? Probably Hickory Hills, I'm guessing, but in a story about your grammar school experience.
Okay, Jim Lofton. I went to Hickory Hills.
Wait, put it on pause.
All right.
What's incoming food?
I have some tuna here, with some sunchokes. They are kind of, they are a root. They look like a ginger, but they are actually very potatoey. They're in the artichoke family. They're delicious. Tastes like a little sweeter French fry, if you will.
I love this tuna.
Tuna and red pepper vinaigrette is sweet red pepper vinaigrette is going to be on it. That is so good.
Okay, Jim, back to you. You have the floor.
No, and that is gluten. That is gluten free.
Yes, perfect. That's what it was. Thank you.
All right. Y'all enjoy?
Yeah, thank you, John. Okay, Jim, you got the floor.
Okay, my first years in grammar school,
Jim, close to your mouth.
First years of grammar school was at Ashford Park Elementary School in DeKalb County. We lived close to Peachtree DeKalb Airport because my parents built their first little house in the vicinity of what at the time was Naval Air Station Atlanta, because my dad was in the Navy during the war and he stayed in the Navy Reserve, so went on the GI Bill and got his education at Southern Tech and went on there. So that was the reason for us to start out there. And they built their little house in 1947 and had me in 1954. My mother worked for Packard Motor Company, and my dad wound up working for a place down in Atlanta that was one of the refrigerators. They make like grocery store refrigerator units. Anyway, so my first school was at, actually I went to kindergarten at St. Martin in the Fields. I guess it's an Episcopal thing that was a strange thing for me growing up in a Baptist Methodist kind of family, because they had nuns. And they didn't take none of the funny business for kids, you know, so it was kind of interesting. First through fifth grade, I went to Ashford Park, think West Side. It's the same kind of, built about the same time, same kind of school. Real nice school. I enjoyed it. Specific memory, I remember when President Kennedy was killed.
Yes.
And it shut the world down like you can't imagine. Another thing, this is a little more upbeat, and this is probably politically incorrect for anybody to think about doing, but I thought it was brilliant at the time. This was probably about 1963 or 62 or 63, somewhere in there. This school, we had a whole city block that the school covered, and we had a huge playground. I mean, it was big enough for a football field and then some, and it was basically just unfinished dirt. And so they were had a landscaping plan to beautify the area, sort of. And so when it's approaching Christmas, it's like, we're gonna have Christmas trees in all the classrooms. So we're like, yeah, all right, man, that's all good. So the Christmas trees came in burlap fall, you know, so they were live trees. And so we got to enjoy our Christmas trees. We were careful with them and looked after them nice, and made our own decorations and so on. And over Christmas break, while we were, you know, out for Christmas break, they came in with, I guess, with a tractor with a big drill or something. They punched a bunch of holes that the landscapers had designed, and they planted all those trees. And so, and I don't remember getting to school anyway besides walking or riding my bike, because my mother didn't start driving until 1960, and of course I was over in first grade in 1960. So this morning, out of curiosity, I thought I'm going to Google that school and see if it's even still there, and figure out the distance from my front door to the school, and it was less than a half a mile.
Wow.
So it wasn't like it was a big deal to walk. And I walked in the rain a lot of times. I had one of those little, I had those rubberized canvas raincoats, brass clips, and a little hood, a little red, and they were always yellow or red. That one I remember, a little boots. Anyway, that's how we got to school. The one strange adaptation that I remember coming to Marietta, because we moved in the course of the summer, and I started in sixth grade at Hickory Hills, was, you know, having to get used to new friends and new neighborhood, and it's a lot to grab your head around. But going to school, there was a practical difference in that they had the new math, and I don't still to this day know what was different about the new math. But it was the first time I ever encountered curved grades, because at DeKalb County School, if you made a 90 or better, or made a 91 or better, you made an A. If you made a, 81 to 90, I was B. No one talked about it being a B. And so the cliff was pretty close by to fall off into failure. And in sixth grade, I had a bad day with a math test, and I think I got a 72 or something that was just not typical of me. And it was a B. It had a B grade on it. And this was one of those times when my parents were always like, if you get a test and you get it back, and your teacher don't keep it, you need to bring it home, because we won't see it, we won't encourage, that's, culture of accountability, so right. So I brought that test home. I'm thinking, boy, I don't know how this is gonna go, but it just don't feel good. I really would like to go see a man about a dog or something. I don't need this conversation. And I put it in front of my mom, and she was just real quiet. She just made eye contact, kind of looked at me real hard, and looked at that real hard, and looked at me real hard, and looked at that real hard. It was a real long time before she was like, I don't understand this. How come you didn't do better on this test? Didn't say anything about the grade, nothing about the test. She was like, God, your dad's not gonna like this either, because he's told you to get it right with math or come to him. So anyway, that was kind of a hard adaptation to get around, and I didn't exactly at that time see that was in my favor. But anyway, so that's where that was.
Tough.
Yeah, it was odd. It was one of the growing experiences, I guess you could characterize. But that's my story. Stick to it.
Robin?
Hey, I'm Robin,
Where'd you
and,
go? You can.
grew up in the military, so about every 2 years we moved, and most of the time we were in military schools. The one time we were not in the military school was really hard, because the kids that lived in the community didn't really think well of the military, so I got bullied there. But mostly I remember the time on the playground, because I like boys, they never had cooties, and so I'd be playing with the boys, and we would chase each other and to catch them, and you would get a kiss if you got caught. So,
Oh my goodness.
so we did, and then of course, when we were in the classroom, I talk a lot, so my report cards always said, she's a chatty Cathy, she talks a lot. So I always got in trouble for that, but that's all I can remember.
Give it up. Robin. And if you are chatty Cathy, we like you for being a chatty Cathy.
Right.
Okay, Kathy, tell us where you went. Memory.
I'm Kathy, and I grew up in Virginia until the 6th grade, and that's when we moved here. And so the schools were, you were pretty stable in the schools there.
Have you put it on hot? What's incoming food?
Homemade fresh margarita pizza, some fresh mozzarella cheese, and also this fresh basil coming on top. And that pasta should be finishing up soon for you.
Okay, thank you, John. Back to you, Kathy, you have the floor.
So anyway, thank goodness, as I was sitting here, the name of the school just popped right in my head. And that's amazing, because I have not remembered the name of that school. But it was Logan Street, and it was up on a hill, and there were trees and stuff all around. So the girls would take whatever branches that had little leaves on them, fall down. We would make, from the roots of the trees that were sticking up, that would be rooms of our house. And then we would take the branches with the leaves on it and sweep the dust. And then somehow, I guess at one point, I touched the wrong leaf, and I got poisoned. I was covered in poison. It was just terrible. And I think it must have been close to summer, because that's when they come out. So, you're squirming and everything and having the school would close on it, and you don't like that. So that's one sort of a traumatic thing that happened. But then also, I learned to play marbles as well with the boys. So, you know, you drew your little circle and you put your marbles in there. And so while everybody else was probably in the tree house playing in the dirt, I was up there shooting marbles. So those were, you know, the fun things that I remembered. The only other thing I remember my mom telling me, and it almost feels like a dream that I, you know, actually heard them talking, is the teacher, because there was no kindergarten, it was just first grade. The teacher told my mom that she basically let me sleep all during
Kathy,
first grade.
microphone closer to your soft talker. Go ahead.
Sorry, it sounded like I was talking loud. But yes, she told my mom that she let me sleep all during the first grade. She said she was just tired and I just let her sleep. And I'm like, oh no, that's just not good. So when the second grade came around, the teachers decided that it would be better if I repeat second grade. And I thought, oh, okay, that's because that wonderful teacher let me sleep all during first
I
grade.
have a question. Do you remember that first grade year where you slept all the time? Is that a memory you have?
Not
Was it a
much.
dream?
Yes, it was in my dream. It was in my dream. I really don't. The only thing I remember was one time I was asleep. I woke up, nobody was in the classroom, and the teacher was walking in the door with my lunch.
Oh, everybody was out to lunch.
They all went to lunch, and she just let me sit there. And because, you know, you didn't have to worry about kids or anything happening.
Well, were you sleeping because of the poison oak, or was it a different?
No, I was older when I got the poison oak.
Oh,
I guess I must have really just been tired because we had to walk to school. So, and it was quite a ways.
Was it 5 miles?
Probably.
Were you
Up
barefoot?
up and downhill. And I do remember another school that I went to in the second grade that we had to walk to in the snow. So you would have to put on your heaviest coat you had, and Mom would give me long pants to put on, and then a separate bag, so that when you get to school, you had to take those pants off. And so that was, yes, that was a big ordeal.
You probably had to get up early because you had to walk.
Right, right.
Oh, yeah.
And so that, you know, but that's just some of the things that I remember, which I feel lucky. I do remember a lot of my younger years in school, and most all of my schooling I remember, you know, probably from the time I woke up until the time I graduated.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you maybe have been just 5.5 when you started first grade or something?
I could have, well, I doubt it, because I have a summer birthday, so,
So
you
you should have
know.
been old
Close
enough.
to, right. I don't, maybe because there were, let's see,
Closer to your
Already.
mouth.
oh, sorry, there was already probably 4 of us by that time. So, and my youngest brother was, just a baby in a crib. So probably between him crying and, you know, all of that going on, I guess, I just, or, yeah, who knows, or I set up playing. That part I don't remember. I don't know why I slept.
I think it's nice of your teacher to let you sleep.
No.
Actually, it's not.
Well,
yeah.
She just wasn't learning.
I would disagree too, yeah.
I mean, you know, that, I guess she figured that
You needed to sleep.
if I needed, to sleep, and then when I would wake up, I would be ready to learn and would learn what I needed to learn. But the 2nd grade teachers didn't think I learned anything, so.
Okay, you finished?
So I'm finished.
All right, let's give it up. Now, where did you go? Grammar school?
First and second grade, I went to Keith.
Okay.
Then we moved, and then from the 3rd through the 6th grade, I went over to Waterman Street. And then from there, by that time, the 7th and 8th grade, they had changed Keith into a junior high. So I went back to Keith. I have a lot of memories of some of the teachers, but 2 of the things that I really remember is like Jim mentioned earlier. I remember the day that they came in and told my teacher that Kennedy had been killed. And she started crying, and we were all, well, what's wrong with her? You know? And so then they told us that. But one of the main things that I remember is my dad went over at night after he got off work and dug bomb shelters down in the basement of Waterman Street, because that was during the time of the Bay of Pigs.
Right.
And all that, so he didn't know what the Russians were going to be doing, so
Drills.
yeah, with the civil defense, and he went several times and helped dig out that area for us in case anything did happen.
Interesting.
So,
That's
yeah.
really
Yeah. That's all I have. I'm finished.
Ken, okay, before you do that, tell us about your surgery and what you had, and then you get into the thing about your grammar school experience. You just recently had surgery.
November, I had shoulder surgery for a torn rotator cuff, but then they found I had a bicep tear. So they fixed that. And then I was going to wait till the end of the year to have surgery on my hip. I was hurting so bad. I told the doctor, I can't wait till the end of the year. Because my teaching ends in October. I was going to have it in November. I said, no, I want it now. So then in 4 months, I had 2 surgeries.
Wow.
And then I had a hip replacement. It's going pretty good. I'm still having some pain, but it's only been a week and a half, so I got no patience. Absolutely none. And these pretty days are killing me.
You're ready to be on that
I'm
tennis
ready,
court.
I'm
Have they
ready.
prescribed physical therapy, or
I'm having it at home.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, they
I'm
come
having
in.
it at home.
Then
Yes,
someone comes
yeah.
in.
Mhm.
Wow.
And then I'll find out next week whether he wants me to do therapy somewhere else. And so 1st grade, I had a girlfriend.
Now, where did you go, though?
I went to Annette Wynn in Douglasville. My ongoing joke is, the reason y'all don't remember me is because I went to Douglas County. And her name was Sandra Nix, and we used to eat every day at lunch. And then I'll fast forward to the 5th grade, and I had this young teacher, and he would never discipline us. And Daddy told him, "You gotta discipline him." And I was the first one to get it with him. I was the first one. But then fast forward a little bit further.
But your main question, yes, Robin.
What did he do to get a spanking?
I did so much stuff I don't remember. And just to talk about you on the grades, 70 was my aim point. If I got a 70, that feels like just an A for me. And that's my experience with the 1st through 5th grade.
My name is Matt Flournoy. Graduated high school in '72, not from Marietta, but that's another story. I went to Hickory Hills Elementary School. I was the first class. They just built it. And I would walk there, because we lived on Redwood Drive, which was right next to the school. And so I never rode a bus. Rain, sleet, or snow, you walked to school and back. And this memory is very vivid. And I got sent to the principal's office, Mr. Carter, with this. I'll tell you the story. It's either, I think in 5th grade, we had some extra time, and the teacher said, show and tell time. Does anybody have something to show or tell a joke? And my hand, so, I know it. Matt, come on up. And they said, what do you have? So I've got a joke. I said, okay, and I'm going to tell you, I remember it. A stripper goes into a bar. She didn't stop me. I went on. The kids are like, a stripper goes into a bar. She's sitting at the bar and talking to the bartender. The bartender, she says to the bartender, pour me a martini. And the bartender shakes his head and pours her a drink. And then she drinks it and she says, heartburn. And she does it again, and the 3rd time, the bartender's irritated, and she says, pour me a martini. And she drinks it, heartburn. He said, lady, first of all, it's not a martini, it's a martini. And second of all, hold on a second. Wait, I'm in the middle of a great story. I'm not going to interrupt. Okay.
Hold on.
You're in
my timing. Okay, and okay, bartender says, lady, it's not a martini, it's a martini. And second of all, you don't have heartburn, your tits in the ashtray. And at that, the kids went wild, and the teacher said, to the office! So she takes me to Mr. Carter's, and they called my parents. Now my father's a lawyer, he's working, so Mama comes there, and so they're in the Mr. Carter's office. And Mr. Carter's grilling me like I'm a criminal. And Matt, where did you hear such a terrible joke? And I said, well, I heard it at the dinner table. My father told it to us.
Exactly.
And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it because my dad told it to us, and everybody at the table laughed. And so the kids loved it. It's just my teacher didn't love it. But she let me get into it because a stripper walks into a bar. And
I know.
Why didn't you stop it right there?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got good grades in academics, but conduct was always a struggle. And I did get occasionally I got a C in conduct, which is like an F, really. You got a C in conduct. And so anyway, but I had a very good experience. And like I said, I posted my grammar school report cards on YouTube. And so anyway, but Matt's finished. Give it up for Matt. Now, I'm going to pass the microphone around. Does anybody have a question or fun? Yes, pass it to Mary, pass it to Mary Lou. We're gonna pass the microphone around.
I was wondering if Coach Carter was a black,
No.
Well, there was a Coach Carter
Yes.
at Marietta, a great guy, helped him, with some basketball
Really?
with the girls.
Oh, really?
And, he jumped rope. I knew how to jump rope, and, I just wondered if that was the same person.
No, our Carter was very much white. He was a single dude too, and he was catting around and he.
I think he catted around with my favorite teacher.
Yeah, he was, anyway, so Mr. Carter, but, anyway, anybody else, I'll pass the microphone. Question or follow-up, another additional story. This has refreshed your memory, we say that in a legal word, has this refreshed your memory, brought something, served something, like the name of your school or teacher or something? Come on, someone's got something.
Okay, I will.
Okay, Joanne.
This is not
A great story. Well, anyway, talking about being bullied, that's what brought this story to mind. I was bullied by two older girls in the neighborhood, and I was in first grade. And I remember one day, it was winter, and I had a hat on, so in the school bus, one of them grabbed my hat and like was throwing it around the bus so I couldn't get it, and people were, grabbing it, and they wouldn't give it back to me, and I had just had enough. So we stopped at the end of my street to let us off to go home for the end of the day, and we got off the bus, and I said to myself, me in first grade, I said, this is gonna end now. I beat the holy heck out of her. I mean, and my brother, who was in 6th grade, who had also been on, he was like cheering me on. Yeah, get her. So anyway, then we went, my brother and I went home, and about 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and the mother of these girls was standing at the stoop, and my mother said, your girls torment my daughter, and she just had had enough. So my mother stood up for me. But I remembered that after you had mentioned bullying. But
give it up to Joanne. Ann, pass it to Ann. Pass it to Ann. John, I didn't mean, okay, put it on pause now. Now you can, before she said, cannoli, tell us what he's got.
Homemade cannolis, he makes the show here. He stuffs it with fresh.
We have some friends that are big foodies and they've eaten everywhere. They said Greg's are the best.
Been my favorite dessert since I was a child.
Well,
Grew up loving it.
You concur.
Nope, I concur. Oh, she's a tech fan. She can have as much as she wants. There you go, good tech.
Okay, y'all go ahead and get to know it. Now, Ann, back to you. You have the floor. Tell us a story.
I was just gonna ask y'all, do y'all remember when they started putting rye ballots on the tables at lunch?
Really?
Rye ballot, they would put a bowl or two in the middle of the table. Laura Lyons and I would fight over them because I had never had them, but when I tasted them, I thought, these are pretty good. And Laura goes, oh, I love those. So when we would go down at lunch, we would sit at the same table, and she would take her finger and lick it, put it down in the olives so I wouldn't want any, and I would try to do the same thing before her so she wouldn't take them. And who fights over ripe olives but Laura and I? That's all.
That is cute.
Well, I have another quick little story.
Sure.
So, the fair used to come, I think there's a street off of Powder Springs that's called Fair Lane or Fairground. Fairground. So the fair was right there, and it actually almost backed up to the school and to your home.
Yeah.
But I can remember we would go out, maybe it must have been 5th, 6th grade, because that's when we changed classes, and we had art. So the art teacher would take us outside in September, and we'd sit there on the hill and draw the fair.
Oh, like the Ferris wheel?
Yes. So that was really cool, I thought. I don't remember that. I mean, we only changed classes, let's say, 3 different teachers. So they probably taught a couple of subjects each. But anyway, thank you.
That's good. Jim?
She's put me in shock, because now I've got pictures of teachers, and I'm trying to,
And you're 2 years older.
never mind.
So they might not have been the same teacher.
Put it over there.
Oh, well, since I have it back, when you were talking about bullying, I do remember when I was in about the 3rd grade, there was a little girl younger than us that lived in our neighbor. It was just a small little street, almost like a cul-de-sac. And I went home crying. And like I say, I was probably in the 3rd grade, and she was a lot younger than me, and my mom said, "What's wrong?" And I think, if I remember correctly, her name was Kathy too. And I said, "Kathy kept hitting me in the stomach with a hammer."
Oh my God.
A hammer.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I do remember that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the punishment. If anything, that's okay. But yeah, I don't remember the punishment that, or if my mom went over and confronted her mom.
Were you standing up when she hit you, or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Did it make a bruise? Oh, it must have.
I'm sure it did, and
Now,
it
I
was.
have a Jermaine, but why was she having a hammer at school?
That's what I was gonna.
We weren't at school. This was
Oh, you were,
this
okay.
happened to be at home. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
This
everybody
was-
brings a hammer to school.
Yeah.
No metal detectors
Right,
back then.
right. There were none, so she wouldn't be detected. But
Y'all
yeah,
had any
no,
words, or did she just walk up and start hitting you?
Yeah.
No, the best I remember, she just walked up and started,
Oh,
you know,
I can't stand bullying.
horrible.
yes. And she was a lot younger than me too. Yeah, she was a little kid.
Some mental
And I'm like,
problems.
yeah. Sometimes I wish now, how could I find her and just see
Which, how she turned out.
She's in prison.
Well, now, in defense of her, you never know. Maybe she had a bad home life.
Well, you know,
learn things
another
now.
thing that, because I
Hey,
once,
pass it.
yeah,
Tell me about
my cousin.
what you did to your cub.
You know, I used to watch like the Three Stooges,
Yeah.
and they used to bunk each other. I mean, and nothing. They always lived. They just got right back up. And on cartoons, you know, people would fall down cliffs, and you know, cartoon characters, Roadrunner, and they would be fine. So when I was a little girl, and I used to watch these on TV, I remember being on the teeter-totter with my cousin who was like a year older, a boy. And I just had a metal shovel, you know, one of those kids' shovels, and I just thought it would be funny to just hit him on the head. And my mother and aunt were sitting under a tree in the backyard near us, and they were like, "Joanne, what are you doing?" And I'm like, and Barry's crying, and I'm just like, you know, but kids see these things and they don't realize that.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, and they're young. I don't know how old she was.
I don't remember either, but she was.
Here.
How old?
Pass it to Kathy. It's okay. Close your mouth.
I'm not sure either, because I was in the 3rd grade, and so she was. I would say she was probably in the 1st grade. If even that. And so I don't know what got in her mind, but it was not good.
Okay, pass it, Mary Lou. Pass it. Yes, Mary Lou.
I know you've all heard the term Old Marietta, right?
Yes, I will.
And a lot of people don't know what that means, but I know what it means.
Yeah.
In the 7th grade, I've already told you about the 2 shifts to accommodate the Bell Bomber plant girls and boys. Keith's school just kept the Old Marietta students. So in the 7th grade at Waterman Street, on the 2nd floor, for the first time, we changed classes. So they brought all the students from Keith over to Waterman Street. Now the boys were nice, but the girls were not. They were old Marietta, and they looked down on us like we were trash.
Oh,
really?
Terrible. And that continued through high school.
Oh, really?
Yes. You know that because
I
you,
know that happened.
and so it didn't bother me because I had my friends. I still have my friends. At 91, I still have friends that I made when I was in the 4th grade at Waterman Street
that's
School.
awesome.
But, and if I had not played basketball at Marietta High School, they would not know who I am. And when we had our reunions, now I'm talking about after we graduated in 1952, they would call me and say, we need to reserve a table. I said, we don't reserve tables. You just come and sit wherever you want to sit. But they all sat together. They never, ever got over
That's so
being
sad.
old Marietta.
Clicks.
It's true, it's true.
Interesting.
But that's okay.
You know, usually adults get over that.
Ann, pass the
No.
do you want to say?
No, they never got over it.
I was just gonna say that.
Give her the microphone, thank you.
As adults, I mean, honestly, there were people that I never hung out with at school. I knew them, we spoke, we were cordial to each other, or nice to each other. And I can honestly say with all my heart, you know, my memory is a little bit gone, that all through high school, and I don't guess middle school or elementary, I don't remember ever having mean girls. You know, you see things now on TV or something that these horrible people. I don't remember ever having mean girls. I had people that maybe talked about you behind your back, but you were friends the next day usually. And when we got into high school, when we graduated and started having reunions, everything was pretty much forgotten. Everybody was friends with everybody. People caught up with people that they didn't necessarily know. I mean, this child was younger than me, but you know,
We're buddies.
now we're buddies. I mean, seriously, and that's how I remember my elementary, middle, and high school growing up. I was always nice to people, and I kind of expected it back. And if somebody really wasn't, I guess, overly friendly or nice, I would go like, what did I do? You know, but my mother always taught me, if someone's talking about you, then you're just giving somebody else a break. They're not talking about somebody else. And go on, move on, y'all be friends the next day. And she was right. You know, I never knew that about that story.
Well, listen, I can name all those people now.
Ashley's had a lot of editing to do.
Let's hear the family names.
No, but Miss Kelly.
My family was not that
I know
over
that.
here.
I'm just teasing you. No, I'm serious.
Close your mouth.
Girls that I went to high school with,
I took names.
who married, whose parents were old Marietta. Now they have children. They're old Marietta. You cannot get that out of those people.
Really?
If they played bridge, if they had a bridge group, you couldn't get, if you played bridge, it didn't make any difference. You couldn't get in their group.
Wow.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Was there
Or
a
garden
group
club.
that were members of the Marietta Country Club, which you had to be wealthier to be a member of the Marietta Country Club? Is that kind of like the stratification of class? What was?
I guess Marietta, I don't know that it was Marietta Country Club. It was people whose parents were a commissioner, maybe mayor, doctors.
So it's based on socioeconomic, in other words,
Right.
money?
Right. But that's okay. I mean, that didn't bother me. I mean, nobody bullied me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's interesting today. It really is.
Kathy?
Now, what I've always heard of for OMs was that pretty much, I would have to say grandparents, great-grandparents were from here. And then, you know, you're still living there. So I consider myself an OM because I've been here so long but I'm officially really not. Because
You were born here.
I was born here, but my grandparents were born in, I don't know, South Carolina. Now, my mom is a true Atlantean, so she was born and raised there, as was grandmothers and great-grandmothers and great-great-grandmothers. So, but,
Now, my brother-in-law, Jack Gentry, we talked about Dr. Jack Gentry, that's my nephew, and his daddy's Jack Gentry Sr., of course. His daddy, he is an old Marietta. His parents go back to the 1800s. So that's an old Marietta to
That's
me.
that's a true one.
That's a true old Marietta. But it's okay, I mean, I didn't mean to sound like those people bothered me, it doesn't, it's just an interesting thing coming through school.
Sure. Well, but they, a clique or a clique, I've heard it pronounced, kind of grouped together.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they were all cheerleaders, you know, I was out there sweating with nose, rolling off my nose, and they had their hair, you know how girls in high school always had the same good hairdo, and I never could figure that out.
Especially the cheerleaders.
Yeah, the cheerleaders.
I cheered, sorry about that.
You were a nice cheerleader.
Yeah, well, anyway, it was just, it was different, I mean, they knew me, but the reason they knew me is because I played basketball. There's people in our class that looked up to those people, but they really didn't know them. So,
I always looked up to Penny Burris.
Want to say something?
I always looked up to who? Penny Burris. Penny Burris.
Wait.
Jim Cagle, I was in high school.
Push it. Give the microphone back to Ann. What were you saying, Ann? Into the microphone, please.
I always, excuse me, when I played basketball, I always looked up to Penny Burris.
Was she
She
tall?
was tall. I don't mean just looked up to her, which I did. You can see I'm not a very tall person. I used to be a lot taller though. But I looked up to her because she was so kind-hearted. She was tender-hearted, and she was patient with the younger, you know, teammates that maybe were not as talented. She was just so good. She made everything look effortless. And
She's still like that today too.
I loved her. I hope you see this, Penny.
Anybody say something? Don't be bashful. Okay. That's all right.
Well, you know, I moved to Marietta in 1969, so I hit high school. And when I was first here, I was very aware of all these little groups. But they were always friendly, and I just wanted to be with the ones that were having fun. And sometimes those groups, they didn't look very fun to me. But then when you're having fun, then more people want to join you.
Girls just want to have fun.
Okay. Well, it's been a great success. Now the food here, we're going to take some of the tuna home because I love that tuna. It is raw, but it's supposed to be. But take the rest of it. You've got containers that John will bring. And John, I want you to hear this. He's only got one table at lunchtime, and he gets paid $2.13, which is called sub-minimum. He's a tip. And so what I want you to do is, Joanne and I are paying for the lunch today, but if you would leave him a cash, or you will take Venmo or Zelle or something, is a tip for him to help him out.
I got it.
And I want you to do this, is, okay, I still got the floor here. I got the microphone, power of the microphone. Anyway, and when you give a tip, give it to him in person so he'll know. It's called proper attribution. You need to give credit where credit's due, or else if you leave it where you're sitting so he will know the donor, proper attribution, okay? And thank you for coming, and we'll do this next month, and please RSVP to
Thank you, Matt and Joanne.
Okay, bye-bye. Now it's freestyle.
Well, I also wanted to say one thing
Yeah, sure.
that I forgot.
Okay, Joanne, come here.
Well, Mary Lou's lunchbox.
Want to pass around Lou's lunchbox?
Well, when last spring when we were at the Museum of Natural History, they had an entire exhibit of lunch boxes. Have you ever seen
I
it?
have.
It's really
So
cool.
cool,
That, I wonder how far back that lunchbox
Well, I can
dates.
tell you,
1930,
Yeah.
39.
My daddy put my name across the top, my whole name, and on the side he put 1939. It's right there. 1939, and my name he put up here.
Oh, wow.
Well, what, I can't see, what are the characters on there, like Bozo the Clown?
I'll pass it around. How
Naked
about that?
ladies.
There's strippers and martinis.
Yeah, strippers.
Yeah,
I just was so,
But it didn't have a thermos. Remember thermoses that matched your lunchbox?
you can never put a thermos in that.
No, it would be.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do a group photo. So once you packed up the food, we're gonna go out to the big room and do a group photo. And John, if you take our picture, that'd be great. And I'm gonna turn the microphone off now.